शुक्लांबरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये दक्षिणामूर्तिसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुर्साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। गणपति बप्पा जय श्री राम। Okay, a few weeks back, one of my friends had called me, and he saw a couple of videos, and he said he calls me as Harsha. So he's a school friend. So he said, Harsha, how come you're so happy when you're talking? You know, there's always a smile. So I said, of course I would be. Poor husband that I am. You don't get chance to speak at home. You give that person a mic, stage, and an audience. I can talk for hours together, right? Happily. So that is what has been happening last 21, 22 weeks. Today is the 22nd week, and there has been virtually a monologue. Me talking and you all listening. So I thought at the end of the session, at least after today's end, after Hanuman Chalisa, maybe I'll open the floor for you all to also talk, share, whatever. If you all have questions, you can want to share something, add value to the story, speak something about the story or anything, feel free. So I thought I'll give the last 10 minutes after Hanuman Chalisa for you all to also talk. I've been talking for 22 weeks now. So today is the 22nd week, and we hope to finish Ramayana today, do a Purti of Ramayana. So we'll start with the story as we left it yesterday. So the war had begun, right? The war between Dharma and Adharma, the war between justice and injustice, the war between the good and the bad, right? That is what the war represented. It was a Dharma Yuddha. So the common inference that we generally get when we say Dharma Yuddha, the common inference that we get is that the war, the Yuddha, was fought on the principles of Dharma, which is not true. Dharma Yuddha means the Yuddha which was fought for the sake of Dharma. It was fought for establishing Dharma. It might necessarily not be fought in the rules of Dharma. So we've seen both the Dharma Yuddhas, both that happened in Ramayana and in the Mahabharata. Both are called Dharma Yuddhas. Both the Dharma Yuddhas had a lot of adharma that happened. For example, in Dharma Yuddha in Ramayana, the battle happened day and night. So technically a battle is to happen only from sunrise to sunset. It is not supposed to happen during the night. But because they were dealing with Asuras and it was their strong point, they didn't listen to that Dharma. So they did in the night. And the great war of Mahabharata, we surely know so much of adharma that happened not only from Kauravas. Our great Krishna also did a lot of adharmas to ensure that Dharma gets established, right? So Dharma Yuddha means the fight that happens to establish Dharma. It is for the sake of Dharma. And that is what has happened. This Dharma Yuddha happened probably, there are multiple counts. There are some which say it happened for 10 days, some which says for 12 days, 13 days. So I think we'll go by the 10-day count because it is something that coincides, 9 to 10 days is something that coincides with the Navaratri, and the battle ends with Ravana Vadha on Dasara, right? So I think we'll kind of stick to the 9 to 10 days of war that took place. We've seen almost 9 days of war has already gone through. We've seen a lot of colonels and brigadiers and majors, all of them die. We've seen his brother die. We've seen a lot of his sons die. Now for all the losses, Ravana has really now, the loss has now settled. There are no generals, there are no brothers, no cousins, no sons, and he's all alone, right? And the loss is bearing heavily on him. He's mentally got defeated. Right? He's no more the original Ravana that we knew. No ego, a lot of humility has come in. Adversity teaches us humility. He now understands that the tall, dark, handsome person with the bow standing in the front, the opponent, is actually Narayana himself. He's realized that. Right? He's realized that it's almost his end. Now the problem with Ravana is that he cannot go back because he's lost so many lives. Right? There is no way he can go back and say, no, okay, I'll go back. Sita, now let's call it truce. We can't do that. The entire Lanka is in mourning. Somebody has lost a father, brother, son. Every house there is a loss. People have lost family members. everybody is crying. In Hindi, there's a word called Matam Chai Hui Hai. So there's an entire city, the entire Lanka is under mourning. Everybody is crying, wailing. There's the whole atmosphere is gloomy. And in this background, now Ravana decides the only option that he is left with, and the true warrior that Ravana was, right, is that I will go out, fight, and fight until death. For him, death was sure. It was a given now. He knew who was fighting on the other side. And the fact that Dharma is also in his side, the opposite side. As he's deciding all of this and is kind of preparing himself, Indra, okay, decides that this is going to be the final day of the war. Ravana has lost everybody, and it was sure that at the end of the day, Ravana is going to come and fight. Indra comes down and meets Rama, and he says, Rama, it is important that you also have a chariot to fight. So Indra gives his own chariot with his charioteer. So he has a car and a driver now. Rama, it's like what? I mean, when, say for example, I have a family of 5 or 6, and I have a car which can hold only 4 people. And if I have to go to Lonavala, I'll borrow, right, from my brother-in-law or from my brother or my neighbor. Get a larger car and then you go, travel with the entire family. So that's what Rama has done. He doesn't have a chariot. He needs a chariot. So what does he do? He takes Indra's chariot along with the charioteer. The name of the charioteer is Matali. Okay, that is the name of the charioteer. So Rama is on the chariot. Ravana enters the battleground. I mean, he's shining. The radiance is like a sun. Valmiki says that the shine, the face, the radiance that Ravana has eclipsed the original sun also. Okay, it is that much radiant Ravana is, because Ravana is now understood that for him there is no further loss that apart from his life there is nothing else to lose, right? So he comes with that freshness. He is coming into the battle. Needless to mention, a huge battle ensues. Hanuman tries, Lakshmana tries. I mean, he is not even bothered. Ravana is not even bothered of dealing with these people. He's kind of ensuring that they are all pushed aside and is going straight for Rama. Rama also understands that it is now the final day and he has to now get into the war and get into the final act. So Rama enters the war and there is a huge battle that happens. All along, Rama has an upper hand. Ravana has a lower hand. Ravana is on a defense continuously. Rama is on an aggression and Ravana is on a defense. He is not really able to get an upper hand at any point of time in the battle. But at the same time, the battle is continuing. Okay, Rama is not able to defeat him conclusively or kill him completely. Rama is fighting. Rama is having the upper hand, still not able to close the battle. That is a time Matali, the charioteer, he turns back and he whispers slightly in the ears of Rama. He says, Prabhu, this is the time that you will have to now use the Brahmastra that was given to you by Agastya. It was for this purpose that it was given to you. I was told to pass on this message. Now is the time, because the moment you still go on delaying it, the more you get into night, he will only become more and more powerful. Now is the time, decisively use it and kill him. Rama also understands the importance of the time that he's got, takes up his bow, pulls the string, utters the Brahmastra mantra and leaves it. The arrow comes like a bolt of thunder, pierces his chest. Ravana throws down his weapons and falls with a huge thud. Ravana, the great Pandit, Ravana, the great Asura, who ruled for such a long time. Ravana, the most knowledgeable amongst Asuras. Ravana, the greedy, Ravana, the lustful person, finally breathes his last on the battleground and he falls down with a big thud. There's a sudden silence that comes into the entire area. Suddenly people now realize, now their king is dead. For the Asuras, their king is dead, and for the Vanaras, the battle is over. So for the moment that the truth hits them, there's a sudden silence for a moment, followed by huge jubilation from the Vanaras camp. They won, they're done with their war, right? They've killed a man whom they wanted to come and kill. There's a huge jubilation. Vanaras are dancing, cheering, congratulating each other. Everybody is happy. But even amongst the Vanara group, there is one person who is not happy and is full of tears, and that is Vibhishna. For Vibhishna, unfortunately for Vibhishna, the price that he paid for having been with Dharma was such a huge cost, right? He lost his brothers, he lost his friends, he lost with all those people who was brought up with, he lost his nephews. For him, he had to pay a huge price. For Rama and Lakshmana, by being on the side of Dharma, they earned a victory. For them, it was a victory. But for Vibhishana, yes, he earned victory, but it came at a huge cost. And that is what happens. Not necessarily, when you are with Dharma, it is not necessarily going to be free of cost. There is going to be a cost that one ends up paying. In Mahabharata, Draupadi, the moment there is a discussion on war, Krishna becomes very gloomy and he walks out of the darbar. Draupadi notices it and then walks behind Krishna and she says, why, what happened suddenly? This is exactly what we wanted, right? We wanted to teach a lesson to Duryodhana and we have to ensure that we fight for our rights. Why is that you are gloomy and why did you walk out of the darbar? Krishna says, no, that's okay, but war has its price to pay, and he keeps quiet. Draupadi understands that there is some problem. Draupadi asks him, Krishna, you have to tell me now, who are the people who will survive this war? Krishna says, Sakhi, don't ask me these questions, okay? These are questions you cannot even, the answers which you cannot even live with. You cannot bear the grief, okay? So don't even ask questions that I cannot answer. Draupadi insists, no, you have to answer me. Krishna says, Draupadi, apart from your 5 husbands and a few others, nobody will survive this war. Draupadi says, what about my son? Krishna says, just keeps quiet and walks away. The price Pandavas paid, yes, they got back their throne, but at what price? Their guru died, their granduncle died, their brothers died, their own sons died, right? All 5 sons of Pandavas die. Abhimanyu dies, Ghatotkacha dies, right? It was a huge price. For what? For establishing Dharma. Krishna says, if people don't pay a price, they will not know the importance of Dharma. If I have to come to establish Dharma, the message has to be so strong that it will carry on for ages and people will shudder to do adharma because they will know that the price that they have to pay. And the price that has to be paid is by the entire society. It is not just a few who do adharma. Because others also ensured that the adharma, they lived with the adharma, they have to pay a price. That is the kind of price that Vibhishana paid with his own brother. He comes near Ravana's body, is lying there, right? And he comes and he slumps on his knees and he cries and he wails. He says, brother, I tried to explain so much to you that this is going to be a fatal war. I tried to explain so much to you that this is such a big, huge mistake. It's a blunder that you did by getting Rama's wife. You should have listened to me. And look where we are today. None of our kith and kin are anymore alive. And what use of this? What is the use of this kingdom that I am going to have? None of y'all are going to be there with me. He takes the head of Ravana on his lap and is crying. Rama comes. Rama says, and this is where, see why Rama is Rama, right? Rama is Rama because he was a worthy son, he was a worthy husband, he was a worthy friend, he was a worthy father and a worthy enemy also. Rama comes and says, my enmity with Ravana goes with his death. There is no more enmity, right? Your brother is my brother. You are supposed to do the final rites. If you are not in a position to do, don't worry, I will do for Ravana. That is what Rama offers. Vibhishana of course says, no, it is my duty to do the final rites for my brother. I'll ensure that I'll do all of that is required. Mandodari comes and all the other wives of Ravana also come. They wail a lot, they cry a lot. Mandodari is a very wise lady. Mandodari is one of the Pativratas. Okay? Pativrata itane ara? Pativrata, Anja. So there are 5 Pativratas and out of that, one of the Pativrata is Mandodari. Okay? So she comes, she cries, she says, her dedication to Ravana was complete. Right? She says, alas, you didn't listen to me, forget me, you didn't listen to your ministers, you didn't listen to your brothers, so much of advice was given, you did such a huge blunder and it has cost all of us this much, such a huge price that we had to pay. Vibhishana goes and consoles his bhabi, which is Mandodari. Now the battle is done, the main enemy is killed. What is it that the next line of duty that one would think Rama would do? Right? The next thing that we would do is, what is it? Why is it that we fought this war? It is for Sita, right? Go and meet Sita. That is what you have to do, the first thing. But Rama is Rama. Rama will first finish his duties and then do what is personal to him. Rama says,
लक्ष्मण ने ராவணன்கிட்ட அனுப்பிச்சு நீதி ராஜநீதி கத்துட்டு
சொல்றேன். So Rama says, no, the first duty is important, that I ensure that my duty is taken care of. First, Vibhishana has to be coronated as a king, right? That coronation has to happen. There has to be a king in place, and then with his permission, the permission of the new king, Hanuman will enter and then meet Sita. I cannot enter because I cannot enter the city. I am not supposed to enter a city. So that is what Rama does. He ensures that Vibhishana's coronation happens, and with his permission, then he sends Hanuman. He says, take permission of Vibhishana. The first time you met Sita was without anybody's permission. You were in hiding. Now you go and meet Sita with the permission of the king and tell her what has happened, and then ask her what is to be done. Okay, this is exactly there in Valmiki Ramayana. Rama says, ask Sita as to what she wants now as what is to be done. As Hanuman goes in, I will cover a certain aspect of Ramayana which is not there in Valmiki Ramayana. Okay, what happens when Rama kills Ravana is that Ravana falls fatally wounded and is not yet breathed his last. He is still breathing. Okay, that is the time Rama says to Lakshmana, he says, Ravana has been a great king. He has been a great administrator. He took Lanka's administration at a particular level and he increased it 100 times. Okay, he has got a lot of knowledge, and it is important that we have to gain from his knowledge. He might have been an enemy, he might have been a villain, but at the same time there are a lot of good things that he did. Lakshmana, you have to go and learn few things from Ravana. So Lakshmana is all upset. What is this new thing Rama has started? So he says, okay, if you insist, I will go. So he goes, very hesitatingly he goes, and he stands by Ravana's head. Okay, and he says, my brother Rama has sent to you, saying that there are a lot of things that you might want to advise me on, and hence I have come. Ravana is silent. Ravana is not even talking. So Lakshmana waits there for 5-10 minutes and then is upset. Oh, what? So much ego. Even at the time of deathbed, this guy is so much ego. So he walks back and he meets Rama and he says, I went because you said, but that man is not even ready to talk. So Rama asks, what did you do? So he said, I went and stood by his head. Said, no, you are a student. When you go as a student, you have to stand by his leg. Okay? Go to him and then ask for his advice. So Rama sends Lakshmana again. Lakshmana goes back. He stands by his leg. He bows to him and he says, oh King Ravana, my brother Rama has sent. He says, yes, I know, and now I will speak. Okay? So Ravana also knew Dharma. It's unfortunately that he fell for his lust. Now what are the things that Ravana says? Okay? So there are a list of things. I will quickly cover a few. So he says, first thing, whatever you undertake, ensure that you finish it to the best and complete it. Do not have lethargy. Okay, that is first. He's saying, never underestimate your enemy. He says, do not make enemy out of your charioteer, your gatekeeper, your cook, and your brother. Okay, none of these people should ever become your enemy. Why? Because the worst enemy is the friend who becomes an enemy. Right? A friend, when becomes an enemy, knows a lot about you. An enemy who's an enemy will not know much about you. He might hate you for reasons that he thinks is valid, but it's still not it's not fatal. When you have a friend who becomes an enemy, that is that becomes a real fatal one. I remember as a student in Doordarshan, there used to be this serial called Sikandar. Okay, on Alexander. There, that Sikandar character is given a dialogue, and this dialogue somehow stuck to me for almost 35-40 years. It is stuck in my head. He says to his assistant Seleucus, okay, and he says, when Seleucus comes and says, Paulus is standing in front of you as an enemy, you think you should kill him. Alexander gives him an advice. He says, Samor aslela shatru peksha mage aslela mitra jasta dhokyacha asto. So the friend who's standing behind you, okay, is more fatal than the enemy who's standing in front of you. Because the friend standing behind you, there's a chance that he'll push the dagger in you without even you noticing. Right? So that somehow dialogue remained in my mind. So this is what Ravana says. He says, the enemy, you should never make an enemy out of your charioteer, your cook, your gatekeeper, and your brother. Do not think that you're always going to be a winner. There would always be times when you will become a loser. Always trust your minister who criticizes you. These are the things Ravana didn't do. Okay, these are all hindsight that Ravana has now understood. Always appreciate the minister who criticizes you. Never think your enemy is small, powerless, or less, or is inferior to you. That is exactly what I thought of Hanuman, and I couldn't measure the power of Rama. Never think you will be able to outsmart your stars. Stars as in your horoscope. Okay, that which basically means that which is written in your horoscope means that which is your destiny will always play out. Never try and meddle with it. Either love or hate God, but do it with immense strength. Okay, either ways you will get darshan of God. Okay, that is what Ravana says. He says a king who is eager to win glory must ensure that he suppresses his greed and his lust. Right? And he says a king must welcome the smallest chance to do good to others without the smallest of procrastination. These are the things that Ravana, the great king that he was, spoke to Lakshmana. Of course, it's a huge samvad where he talks of politics, where he talks of warfare, he talks of administration, he talks of statesmanship, he talks of a lot of things. He talks of relations, he talks of a lot of things. And Lakshmana is almost kind of becomes a guru shishya between Ravana and Lakshmana, a very strange relationship that builds amongst them. And then Ravana breathes his last. This is as per certain folklore. I thought I'll mention this because it has a beautiful meaning. So I thought I'll cover that. As we were speaking, Hanuman has reached and met Sita. And having met Sita, then he tells the entire story. He utters the entire story as to what happened, how these people came, how Rama and Lakshmana have won, Ravana is dead, Vibhishana is now the king, and now you are free. So you are no more bound to Ashokvana. And Rama is now asking, what is it that you want to do? Right? Sita blesses. She says, Hanumanta, son, how can we ever even think of repaying you the debt that you put on us? Both me and Rama are so much indebted to you. We can never ever think of repaying that debt to you. May your glory remain all till the time there is mankind on this earth. May your glory remain. That is what she blesses him. Hanuman quickly asks. He says, "What is that saffron thing that you are wearing on your forehead?" So Ma Sita says, "That is sindoor, which I wear for the longevity of my husband." He just keeps it in mind. What happens is Hanuman, after all the war and all gets done, he keeps that thing in mind, saying that this particular sindoor, if applied on the body, your beloved, whomever you worship, whomever you are so in love with, will live for a long period of time. That is the reason Hanuman covers himself, entire body he covers himself with sindoor, so that Rama lives for long. That is why even today as a pratha, as a custom, Hanuman Murti is smeared with sindoor. Okay, that is the reason that it is done, so that Rama can live. That is the kind of bhakti Hanuman has. Hanuman then turns around and finds a lot of demons who are guarding Sita, right? They are still guarding her. Change of government has happened, but they are still guarding her. They are all trembling in their legs because Trishata had told the moment Rama comes, you are all going to get killed. So Hanuman asks, Ma, if they have troubled you, let me know, I will kill them all. You know how I can do that. So Sita says, no. All of us are sinners, right? We all do sins. We cannot keep punishing everybody. They might have not come to our Sharanagati, but we have to pardon them all. That is what Sita is, right? So with Sita, she is a mother. You don't have to fall at her feet and take Sharanagati to get her pardon. That is Rama, right? That is the father. He needs to hear the sorry from his son's mouth. But mother is not that. Mother will anyway pardon the son. So that is what Sita is. So Sita says, no, we have to pardon them. We cannot keep punishing everybody. Right? We all are sinners. We all have done our own share of sins. We cannot do this to them. So Hanuman now, so the message that Sita gives is that I would want to come out and meet Rama, because Rama cannot come into the city. I would want to come out and meet Rama. That is a message you have to pass on to Rama. So Hanuman comes back again. So one would think, yes, what is this? I mean, red tape. Hanuman coming, getting the message, getting back. I mean, he could have just got Sita back, right? But that is not the way it happens. There is a protocol to everything. There is a manner. There is a method of doing everything, right? I mean, tadka is the last thing that you do while cooking, right? It has to be the last thing. You keep it ready. It doesn't make sense. There is a method in which things get done, and that is the way it has to be done. So now Hanuman comes back and he says, Ma Sita now wants to come out and meet you. That is what is the message. Listening to this, Rama's face falls down. Okay? For the person for whom the whole war was waged, his body now strains, toughens. There is a strain in his face. There is a tension that comes on his face. He is now worried. We'll come to this as to why Rama suddenly gets worried about all this. Now Vibhishna, with due respect, goes to Sita, meets her, does namaskar, and sends her in a palanquin, a pallak. Okay? She freshens up, and then she's not taken bath for almost 12 months. So she freshens up, and then she comes out. She comes out. As she's coming in the palanquin, all the Vanaras, they're all waiting. They're all waiting. Why? Because it is that lady for whom they have come and risked their lives, right? They're all falling on each other. They all want to have a peek at who this lady is, how Sita looks, how beautiful she looks. They all are kind of crushing each other and trying to come as close as possible. Sugriva, Angada, Nala, Neela, Jamba, they're all stopping them. No, you can't go near. Please get out. Please don't come near. Rama stops them. He says, no, these Vanaras I'm indebted to. They are there, and it is because of them that I have won this battle. It is because of them that I will be able to see Sita. It is their right that they should be able to see Sita. So let them see Sita. Sita comes, the palanquin is kept. Sita comes out of the palanquin. Rama is in full tears, right? Rolling down his cheeks. Sita is in full tears. They are not able to utter any word. There is a complete silence. Everybody is watching. Gods and Gandharvas, Devas and Gandharvas from top are also watching. After 12 months, Rama and Sita come face to face from a distance. Sita is just able to utter Aryaputra and she chokes. She is not able to even talk. Having done this, now Rama speaks. Rama says, as a Kshatriya whose wife has got abducted, I have completed my duty. Right? My duty is to ensure that you are freed, Sita. Now what is it that you want? Is what Rama asks Sita. Now why would anybody in his senses, ask this question? We'll come to all of that. Okay? He says, what is it that you want? Sita says, I just want to be reunited with you, Aryaputra. There is nothing else that I want. And that is exactly what I've been dreaming for the last 12 months. Now that this has happened, I want to be reunited with you. The next question Rama says is, Sita, do you remember all the mistakes that you have done from the time that I left you at Panchavati in search of the golden deer? Sita has done what mistake? Sita hasn't done any mistake, right? She just got abducted. She was here, and then she has done no mistake while being at Lanka. She has done no mistake. But Sita starts thinking. Had she not done any mistake, she should have just caught back saying that, what mistake have I done? What are you talking about? Right? Sita starts thinking. And after a moment of thought, she says, yes, I remember the mistake. And then there is no exchange of words. Rama just says, now that you realize your mistake, the only way to get absolved of that mistake is to do an Agni Pariksha. Everybody is shocked because nobody knows what is happening between Rama and Sita. And what mistake that these guys are talking of? What mistake Sita Ma can do, and what is it that Rama is pointing at? And what is that? It's such a great mistake that it has to be going through an Agni Pariksha. So he's saying Agni Pariksha is mandatory. You will have to walk through the Agni for you to be absolved of that sin. Sita immediately agrees. Says, that is what Dharma would expect. That is what I would expect of you, my Prabhu. And I am ready to do that. And the man to go is Lakshmana. So Lakshmana all gets all the dirty work to do. Okay. At the fag end, Lakshmana is so upset that he says, Rama, I have served my entire life for you, and all the dirty work to ensure that you got it done from me, and hence I am taking Jala Samadhi. That is how Lakshmana takes Jala Samadhi. That is his fag end. So he goes, brings wood and lights it with fire. Sita Ma enters. The logic behind Agni Pariksha is something I'll take at the end. I'll anyway come to that. I'll just cover the story and finish it off with the story. She enters Agni, stays there for a while. Agni Bhagavan himself comes out, holding her in her arm, comes out. Sita, of course, comes out unhurt. Agni Bhagavan has got blisters on his body. Okay, Sita is fire, right? The purity is at such level that people who touch her become burnt. That level Sita is. Sita comes out unhurt. Rama is all happy. Of course, that is what was expected anyways. Rama said, yes, I had to do this unfortunately because that is what people will expect me to do. That is what is dharma. and hence I had to do, my beloved. It's not that I doubt you of anything. Of course, Rama and Sita, it's not that they go and embrace each other, but that is not what Rama and Sita do. They don't do public display of affection, but they stand together. Everybody does namaskar and they bless. This technically now happens in Lanka. Now what happens is Indra comes, he comes and gives darshan, and he says all the Vanar who fell, who died in this battle, may they be given life. So everybody comes back to life. And all those asuras who die, because they died for a good cause, because it was Rama's army that killed them, everybody got Swarga, including Ravana, because Ravana, when he breathed his last, he uttered the word Rama. That is the reason we should make ourselves the habit of uttering Rama, 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 so that when the last moment comes in our lives, we are able to utter the word Rama. That ensures us Swarga Loka, right? Otherwise, we'll all go to Yamaloka. Now Rama gets tense again. Now why? Because 14 years has almost come to an end. And Bharata has already given a deadline, right? What is the deadline? He has told 14 years and no more. Not a single minute later. The moment 14 year gets over, the next morning, Rama, I have to see you. If you are not there in my presence, I will jump into the fire. I will self-immolate myself because there is no purpose of life for me. That is a deadline that Bharata is given and the time is ticking. It's almost close to 14 years and he's in Lanka. He has to go all the way to Ayodhya, right? He's got a long journey to cross over. So he's worried as to what can be done. So Vibhishna says, don't worry. The Pushpak Viman that Kubera had given Ravana, now it is mine. So it is something that you can use. And Pushpak Viman, Valmiki, I have told this earlier also, has covered in detail. Pushpak Viman had a capacity to increase and decrease its size. So huge amount of people, it's like a jumbo jet. A lot of people can come into it. Hundreds of people can be accommodated. So you can choose who all you want and then take them to Ayodhya. Yeah, of course, even I want a seat. I am also coming because I also want to witness the Rama Rajyabhishek, the coronation that will happen at Ayodhya. It's a global event and I would want to participate. So lot of Vanaras, lot of Asuras also, right? Including Vibhishna and Vanaras, everybody jump into the Pushpaka Viman. And as the Pushpaka Viman is about to take off, Rama says to Hanuman, I might take some time to reach. Okay, I don't know the speed capability of this vehicle. So I might take some time to reach. Ensure that you go, fly down and meet Bharata and tell him that I am coming. Okay. And at the same time, the Vanaras and all end up making a request to their king Sugriva. They say, this is such an important event. We all fought for you, right? We all are going to witness Rama's Rajyabhishek. We would want even our wives and children to participate. So kindly take a detour to Kishkinda, take a stop, pit stop, ensure that they also hop in and then we all can go to Ayodhya. So Rama realizes this is not an easy affair, I'm going to take time. Hanuman, you go ahead and pass on the message that I'm coming. I might be delayed for a few days, but I'm coming for sure. So Hanuman starts flying. He's again on an errand going towards the north. He goes and it's almost 14 years and complete and Bharata is already prepared the pyre where he's lighting the fire and is now taking the circumambulation. He's doing a pradakshina to the fire. So it's a matter of time. Had Hanuman missed even a second, Bharata would have jumped into the fire. Hanuman from a distance sees Bharata is going to jump and this is what Hanuman shouts. This is in Tamil, okay, it's in Kambarama. It says Vandan Raman, which means he says coming Rama. Okay, Aya Ram. So first what he uses is verb, right? Aya, it's coming. He doesn't say Rama is coming. The same thing that he used when he met Rama after meeting Sita, right? Kandain Site, which means saw I Sita. In our language, grammar can work both ways. Okay, you can put words either ways. It's not like English that it has to be in a structured manner, and it still be grammatically correct. So he says Vandan Raman, which means his coming is Rama. So the moment he says the words coming, the moment he hears the word that somebody is coming, now who is Bharata waiting for? Bharata is waiting for somebody to come. Who? Rama. So the moment he hears someone is coming, he immediately stops and waits. Says, okay, then the next word comes in, which is Rama. Then he realizes, okay. Had he done Rama is coming, in that time probably Bharata would have jumped into the fire. So Hanuman didn't want to miss even that millisecond. This is critical. This is what Hanuman is made up of. So he says that, he gets down, he embraces, then he tells the entire story. Okay, there is also a version where when Hanuman is going to collect Sanjeevani, he's going at a great speed. Bharata sees him, okay, and asks him to halt, okay, because he sees him as an hostile person. And then they have a discussion where he updates Bharata of what has happened and stuff like that. I have not covered that part of the story because it's not necessarily there in Valmiki Ramayana. But now anyway, Hanuman meets him, gives him all the information, downloads that there was a war, that this is what has happened, and all of that, everything is a happy ending, and everybody is coming. They might need some time. So why don't we start off with all the preparation that you might want to do for welcoming them, because your king is now coming back to take back his rightful place. So Bharata goes back from Nandigram, he goes to Ayodhya, the entire thing, there is a whole celebration that is planned, and the entire army, that is Asuras, Vanaras, Rama, Sita, Vibhishna, Jambavan, Angada, everybody, the entire clan comes in, they get a landing space, they land down, and then they start walking through the streets of Ayodhya. Ayodhya is now in full force, lights being lit, garlands of flowers, music happening, dancing happening, programs happening, everybody is happy, good stuff being cooked, lot of things are happening. That is the day which we celebrate, the day on which Rama returns, is the day which even we today celebrate as Diwali. That is the reason we celebrate, we wear new clothes, we light lamps, we cook good food and celebrate the return of Rama back to Ayodhya. Sorry, I missed. The day on which Ravana got killed is the day we celebrate as Dasara. Okay, so Dasara to Diwali is about 20 odd days, 21 odd days. Okay, so by the time we could finish off the Vibhishna's coronation and stuff like that and take a pit stop at Kishkinda and then come, it has kind of taken that much amount of days, and then comes and then gets a huge royal welcome. Rama walks in. The first person that he does namaskar is to his guru, Vasishtha. The next person that he does namaskar is to Kaikeyi, and he says, Ma, I have completed my promise and successfully come back. Kaikeyi is in tears, of course. She is still remorseful that she did what she did. The next person that he does namaskar is Sumitra. He doesn't speak because he is not able to speak, he is choked. But he, by signal, by his eyes, he thanks her for having sent Lakshmana, because had it not been Lakshmana, a lot of things would not have happened, right? She thanks her for having sent Lakshmana, and he also the message through his eyes that he gives is, Ma, I have got back Lakshmana in a single piece, because you know what had happened at the battlefield, right? It was a huge responsibility that Rama had. So that is the message that he gives. Then he falls at the feet of his own mother, which is Kaushalya. They all bless him. The next day, they fix the day for coronation of Rama, which is what? Is the Rama Rajyabhishek. Okay? There's a throne, the Simhasan which was adorned by the entire Ikshvaku clan, a heirloom, right? That which was rightfully Rama's, that which was rightfully Sita's, finally, after all wait, after the long 14 years of wait and all the drama that we heard for all these weeks, Rama and Sita adorn the throne, and there's an Abhishek that happens, and all of that ceremony gets done, and then Rama is announced as the Raja Ram. That is when he gets the name called Raja Ram. The rule that happens by Rama is what we all famously call as Rama Rajya. Okay, wherever a king is ruling or a prime minister or a president is ruling very beautifully as per dharma, as per law, there is justice around. That kind of a kingdom, that kind of a rule is called as a Rama Rajya. It is the golden standard. It's a gold standard in the way kingdom has to be administrated, right? Rama Rajya was so good, so much of dharma. It's not just the king who did dharma, even the subjects did dharma. One of the examples that is generally given as an example as to why Rama Rajya is so special, there were no out of turn death that happened during Rama Rajya, which means if there is a family, there is an eldest, then there is somebody, and then there is a youngest. So there are 10 people. The first person to die in the family will always be the eldest, then the next eldest, then the next eldest. There was never an out of turn death of a child dying before the parent. That never happened. Today, if we see children dying in front, child dying undoubtedly is the worst of the grief, okay, that a parent can ever face in the living life. That's the worst of the grief that a person can never encounter. That never happened in Ramarajya, and that is the example that is generally given. Ramarajya was so good that there were no even out of turn deaths that happened. Thus, they ruled Rama ruled Ayodhya. There is a small side story which I love very much, and I will cover that. So as they are all sitting, Rajyabhishek has already happened, and so there's a whole crowd on the dais. Rama, Sita, Lakshmana. No, Lakshmana is on the right side. Vamabhagi is Sita, right? And then there is Bharata, Shatrughna, Sugriva, Jambavan, Vibhishna, Angad, Nyala, Neela. Of course, Hanuman is sitting down, bowing his head and sitting there. Sita suddenly realizes, the greatest help that anybody would have done is Hanuman, right? So she says, son, I want to gift you something. So Hanuman is very happy. He says, yes, ma, I'm open to it. So she takes out her pearl necklace. Okay, there's a pearl necklace that she's been wearing for the coronation. She takes that out and then gifts it to Hanuman. Hanuman takes it with utmost humility and then starts looking into the pearls. Okay, and as he starts looking into the pearls, what he does is, he breaks the necklace, he starts looking into the pearl and throws it down. He goes to the next pearl, looks at it from all sides and throws it down. Third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 10th, everybody is upset. Sita and Rama are smiling. Everybody else is upset. What is this? No, she's queen, right? She's not just Sita Ma, she's Queen Sita. She's giving some gift for the efforts that you have put in, and you are disrespecting in front of the entire Darbar. So many people. It's a global event, People from everywhere have come and are witnessing that event. Getting telecast at various levels and, TV and whatever. So in this Hanuman is kind of breaking pearls and throwing it down. Vibhishna is very upset. He says, Hanuman, what is it that you're doing? It was given to you with so much amount of love and affection and as a thankful gesture, and you're opening each of the pearl, looking into it as if searching for something and throwing it down. You're disrespecting it. Hanuman says, I'm so sorry. I don't intend any disrespect at all. But something in which I don't find my Rama and Sita is of no use to me. What do I do keeping it? It's of no use to me. I don't want to own something in which I don't see Rama and Sita. So I was trying to search if there is Rama and Sita into that. I didn't find them. I threw it. I don't want it. Vishnu gets very upset. He's saying, you have so much of ego in you. If you think nothing in which Rama and Sita exist is of no use, then you should kill yourself. Do you think your body has Rama and Sita in it? Hanuman says, of course, there is Rama and Sita in it. So Vibhishna says, show me, where is it? So Hanuman gets down from the throne, he goes down of the dais and he opens his chest, tears open his chest, and there everybody sees Rama and Sita inside. This is a special moment. There's tears flowing out of Vibhishna's eyes. He's saying, I couldn't even measure your bhakti towards Rama and Sita. I'm sorry to have scolded you, Hanumanta. You are truly the greatest of the devotees. Rama gets down out of his throne and he embraces Hanuman and he says, Hanumanta, what is it that I can do to you to repay the debt? I have already given myself to you. There is nothing else that I can give you. But I'll still bless you that I will always have you with me in this life and beyond. Even beyond death, I want you to be with me. Hanuman again comes back. He says, beyond this life, Rama, you would not remain as Rama. Of what use it is for me? I want to be here with Rama. So bless me to be with Rama always. Rama blesses. He says, till the time Prakriti has the word Rama, till the time people utter the word Rama, Hanumanta, you will be here. And that is how Hanumanta becomes a Chiranjeevi. There are multiple versions to how he becomes Chiranjeevi. Brahma gave the boon and stuff like that. But I personally love this story and I choose to believe that this probably is the best version out of it. See, in our Puranas, there are multiple versions, okay, to a story. And it is up to us as listeners, up to us as people who enjoy the story to choose the one that we prefer, the one that we like the most. This one is immersed so much in bhakti, such a beautiful moment. And I would prefer Rama giving the blessing of Chiranjeevi title to Hanumanta than Brahma doing it. So I thought I should narrate that particular story. Hanumanta goes on to ask further. He says, not only I have to be alive here to listen to your name till the time it is there, kindly bless me to be everywhere where Rama word is uttered. Okay, yatra yatra Raghunatha Kirtanam tatra tatra Kritamastakaanjalim. Hanumanta is there everywhere. Wherever Rama's word is uttered, Hanumanta will be there. So that is the reason why Ramayana gets done as a pravachan. If you see on my right side, I don't know if it is visible, there is generally a small plank kept for Hanuman. Generally it's either kept empty or with a Hanuman idol. Why? Because when Ramayana is getting uttered, the belief is that Hanuman is sitting there and listening to the entire Ramayana. And I genuinely hope that Hanuman is there listening to us for the last 22 weeks. And I also hope he pardons me in case I have done any mistake in uttering Ramayana. The belief is that he is there listening to our Ramayana. Technically, this is the Purti of our beautiful story of Ramayana. Of course, they live on and happily ever after. There is an Uttarakhand which I don't prefer to cover because of a lot of reasons. One is there are already doubts whether really Valmiki wrote it or how is it that it found place in Ramayana is a doubt. I don't want to get into all of that. Two, there is a lot of explanation that I will have to do at various stages. It's not that Rama ever does any mistake, okay? And I'll come to that. I'll come to the Agni Pariksha also as the last bit. I will anyway cover that. Rama never does mistakes. What happens is, the moment you have to put yourself in a situation where an action of Rama needs to be explained, then you get into an argument, then you get into a discussion, then the bhakti towards him gets doubted. So I don't want to cover a story where all of that gets covered. Also as a pratha, as a custom, as a tradition, Ramayana pravachan, Ramayana storytelling happens only of these 6 kandas. It is not with Uttarakanda. Okay, it starts with Balakanda and ends at Yuddhakanda. With Rajya Abhishek, it ends there, and generally Uttarakanda Parayanam is pravachanam is never done. So I am kind of sticking to what the original tradition of storytelling is, and hence will not get into that. But having said that, formally the Ramayana story we've completed. Rama, Sita, Hanuman, all of them live happily ever after, and what transpires is the Ramarajya, the famous Ramarajya that we all are at awe with. Now let me come back to the Agni Pariksha. Okay, I'm sure there is a lot of itch to listen to this part of the story as to why Agni Pariksha, or why is that Rama did what he did. So let me start again building a certain base to the argument. I have about 10 to 15 minutes. Let me cover this part, and as I had promised, I will then leave the forum open for about 10-15 minutes for any of you all to contribute, because last 22 weeks I've been having a monologue. I would want to listen to your voices also, right? Had it been a live session, then generally we have an interactive one, but because it's through technology, I don't get to hear your voice at all, so I would want to hear something from you all as well. So what is the logic behind Agni Pariksha? So first we have to understand that Rama, can he do anything wrong? This is something that I covered even while I covered Valivad. First, at a very basic faith level, Rama can never ever do anything wrong. So when you question as to any of the actions, the questioning, nobody is stopping question. Our whole culture is based on question answering. Nobody is stopping from questioning. The question has to come with a lot of reverence, and that reverence is very critical, because it is the reverence that will lead us to the true answer. If there is no reverence, if there is a skepticism, if there is a cynicism towards the question, which means you have lost reverence, any answer that would fall in place will always be viewed with that cynicism, and that will never ever work. Because this is related to faith, that amount of faith has to be placed. Rama can never ever do mistake. But there is something that seemingly seems to be a mistake, right? How can he ask his wife to go through an Agni Pariksha when he knows Sita has not done anything, when he knows that Sita was abducted, when he knows she was abducted against her will? How can Rama as an husband ask anything of this kind to a wife? This is the standard question that generally gets asked. We will attack it through reverence, right? So we will say whether Rama could have done a mistake. No, Rama couldn't have done a mistake, but there seems to be some mistake that has happened. Is it really a mistake, or is there some logic behind it? Now that is the logic that we'll try to answer. Secondly, I have also covered the aspect that Agni had the capability in Satyug, Treta and Dwapar, had the capability to stand testimony, stand as a witness, okay, to breach of contract, right? So Agni had that power. Today Agni doesn't have power because we are such sinners. In Kali Yuga, we are the sinners, right? we put our hand into the Agni, Agni will by default burn us because it's a sinner's hand, right? That is going into the fire. So a person who has not done sin at all, go enters fire, nothing will happen. So that is the second thing I wanted to cover. The third thing that I want to very clearly embed into everybody's mind is one thing. Sita is not an abala nari. Let us put that into our mind. She is a completely empowered lady. She knows how to fight for her justice. She is Janaka's daughter. She knows what dharma is. She is a dharma patni of Rama. She is a daughter-in-law of Dasharatha. She is a person who is capable of standing her ground and asking the same husband if he does a mistake. She is an empowered lady, right? So she is not the avala nari that we see, husband ne bol diya and she is being oppressed. She is not the oppressed lady. She is a person who has a capability to tell Rama that you have gone wrong in this dharma. And we've seen instances. Let us come to those instances. When Rama was about to leave for forest, he goes and meets Kaushalya and he says, your duty is to be here with your husband. When he goes to Sita, he says, it's your duty is to serve your mother-in-law, right? Sita questions him, what kind of dharma are you talking of? I am Janaka's daughter and I know dharma. My dharma doesn't tell that I have to be here with my father-in-law and mother-in-law. My dharma says that I have to be with you. And I'm not asking you, I'm telling you that I'm going to come. Sita is capable of fighting for her justice. Sita can take a stance that necessarily might not be in congruence with Rama. One of the reasons when somebody was posed a question as to why Rama should be anointed as the Yuvaraj, one of the person comes back saying it is because Sita is his dharma patni. That is the reason that one of the ministers give. If you remember, this was a story that I told in Balakand. What is a dharma patni? Dharma patni means a patni who will show dharma to husband. Right? That is what dharma patni means. Sahadharmacharani means walking on the same path as that of her husband. And dharma patni means a person, the lady of the house, will show what is the right dharma to the husband. So if Rama falters on dharma, it is the duty of Sita to show what is the right dharma, and Sita was fully capable of doing that. If Rama had faulted in telling that you have to enter Agni Pariksha, and if Sita was 100% sure that no, this is not what dharma expects, she had the capability of asking Rama, saying, which dharma calls you for doing this? This is not dharma. Sita had the capability to do that. So first and foremost, we have to understand Sita didn't enter Agni Pariksha against her will. She had the capability to stand for herself. So it is not, we should not compare Sita to today's world where, ladies are getting burned for dowry and helpless and helpless ladies. We cannot compare Sita with that. Sita was not that. Sita was a completely empowered lady, right? And that is something that we have to remember completely. And had there been even a slightest of doubt, Sita wouldn't have entered Agni Pariksha, because if Sita was convinced that Agni Pariksha is not what dharma calls for, she would have stood her ground. Questioned Rama in front of everybody. She wouldn't have bothered of what others think. That is what Sita was, an empowered lady. Now let's come to the story. Having built this background, now let's come to the story. So there are two angles to it. One is what happened in this story, and the second is from what transpires for us as a message to us. Okay? And what happens in captivity. Kindly bear with me. I know I'm at the fag end of my time, but kindly bear with me. Anyway, today is the last session, so give me the benefit for about 15-20 minutes more. So what does Rama say? Rama says, he says, do you remember the mistakes that you have done? That is the first question that he asks when he first meets Sita after she comes out of the palanquin. Now Sita, had she not done any mistake, had the guts to say, no, I have not done any mistake. Sita thinks for a while and she says, yes, I have done a mistake. And then Rama says, well, the prayashchitta, if you have to get absolved of that particular sin, that particular mistake, it is so grave that only Agni Pariksha is an answer to it. And Sita agrees to that. Now, what is that has transpired between Rama and Sita that audience are not aware and we are not aware of? Okay, so Vyakhyankar give this as an example. When Rama has gone in search of the golden deer and Sita is guarding Rama, Rama has told Lakshmana that you have to be with Sita. So Lakshmana is guarding, Rama has gone in search of a golden deer, Lakshmana is guarding Sita. The moment Sita hears, hey Lakshmana, hey Sita, which is actually Maricha, Sita becomes paranoid. And she says, Lakshmana, you have to immediately leave and go and search for Rama and help him. He seems to be in need of your help. You have to go. Lakshmana says, Bhabhi, don't worry, nothing is going to happen to Rama. This seems to be a ploy, this seems to be a game. It is nothing that is going to happen to Rama. I am going to be here with you, I am not going to leave you. Sita gets upset and she goes on to say these words. There's something we had covered at that point of time in Aranyakand. I will come back to this story. She uses very harsh words and she says, oh Lakshmana, now I can understand why you being with us. You basically wanted a private time with me. You wanted to ensure that something bad should happen to Rama so that you and Bharata can then usurp the entire kingdom. She goes on to doubt Lakshmana's character. See, Sita she's in. I came out.
Huh?
Yeah? You can hear me? Okay. Great. Sorry, I kind of walked off. Okay. So let me cover a couple of minutes back and then start off. So what Lakshmana is guarding Sita, and when Sita hears Rama shout, she feels it is Rama who is shouting, hey Lakshmana, hey Sita, she chides Lakshmana. You can hear me? Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay. What are the last you heard? Oh my God, you asked me for the last 5 minutes, is it? Oh wow. Okay. Did you get the point of Sita being an empowered lady? Okay. Yeah, because that was an important. I faulted, okay, because the earlier part was an important part of the argument building. Okay, so you heard all the three arguments of Rama can never do a mistake, we have to approach with reverence, Agni being capable of doing witness, and that she was an empowered lady, had the ability to question Rama in front of everyone. Yeah. So now when Rama asks, okay, fine. So now I'll carry on the story from there. Okay. So now Rama asks, the question that he asks when she gets down from the palanquin, the first question that Rama asks is, do you remember the mistakes that you have done? And if she had not done the mistakes, Sita would have told, then no, there is no mistake that I have done. But she actually pauses a moment, she thinks, and she says, yes, I know the mistake that I have done. Rama then says, you also then know the rule, you know, the method to which you can absolve this particular sin is Agni Pariksha, and then she agrees. So which is the mistake that both of these guys are referring to, which all of us are completely oblivious of, are the mistake that happened during the golden deer incident. So Rama has gone out in search of the golden deer, and while going, Rama has told Sita that, Rama has told Lakshmana that you have to guard Sita, don't leave her. Rama has gone in search, there Maricha dies and he shouts, hey Lakshmana, hey Sita, in Rama's voice. When Rama listens to that, and when Sita listens to that, she feels Rama is in trouble, and she then tells Lakshmana, you have to immediately go. You have to go and help Rama. Rama seems to be in trouble. Lakshmana says, no Bhabhi, there is no problem at all. Rama, nothing bad can happen to Rama at all. He is absolutely fine. There seems to be some problem of the demon, and I told you it's a demon. It is so sad that you send Rama after that deer, but don't worry, nothing will happen to Rama. Let come back. Sita doesn't stop there. She says, she starts doubting Lakshmana's intention because she's in duress, because she's in stress. She starts doubting Lakshmana's intention. And she says, how bad of you, Lakshmana. Seems like you've been silently waiting for this moment to Rama to die. Seems like you and Bharata are in cahoots so that you can usurp the entire kingdom. Both are such bad brothers. That is what Sita says. Sita unfortunately doesn't stop there. She goes on further and doubts Lakshmana's character. She goes on to say, oh, you wanted to Rama to die because you have a bad eye for me. That is what Sita says. Lakshmana is not able to bear this at all. These words are like piercing like arrows. You know, when we were in 10th standard, we used to have this autograph thing, you know, because after that you won't meet and then you used to write some good message or whatever, you know, roses are red, what, sky is blue, and animals like you are to kept in a zoo or whatever, you know. And there are some good messages also. And one of them good message which kind of stuck with me is eggs and words are to be handled with care. For eggs once broken and words once spoken are the hardest thing to repair. Words can cause that kind of a damage, and they can be so piercing, they can destroy life. That is the power that words have. Sita in her distress speaks ill. She doesn't stop there. She doubts Lakshmana's character. Lakshmana is not able to bear that, and he rushes off and he says, Ma, you please be here and let me go in search of Rama, because you don't seem to be convinced of what I am saying. Rama takes extreme objection to this particular incident. Who is Lakshmana? Lakshmana is like a son. He has been a shadow for Rama since birth. He spent his life. He's sacrificed his marital life. His wife is staying in Ayodhya sleeping, and he's serving Rama and Sita here, right? And for no reason. The promise was that Rama has to go to forest. You being his wife accompanying, fair enough. But what was the rule on Lakshmana to go into the forest? Nothing. There was nothing binding on Lakshmana at all. He on his own volition said, I cannot stay away from you, Rama. I have to be with you. It is always with you that I am. And as a shadow he follows. Does all the service that he did. And Sita ends up doubting him. Sita ends up doubting Bharata. There is no greater devotee as compared to Bharata. Bharata left all the kingdom. He is living in Nandigram as an ascetic. No reason. He could have lived in Ayodhya as a prince, right? As a king. He is living the same life as Rama and Sita are living, in the same clothes that Rama and Sita are wearing. That is the kind of sacrifice those brothers have done. Sita in that moment of distress doubts them, and Rama takes extreme objection to that, and he says the punishment has to be also doubting your character, right? The punishment will be that your character will be doubted in public so that sin is absolved of. And the way that will happen is through Agni Pariksha, right? And that is the reason why Rama says, you remember the mistake that you have done. Sita says, yes, Aryaputra, I do remember the mistake that I did. Now what? Rama says, Agni Pariksha, you stayed in captivity, so I doubt your character. I don't know what has happened to you, so I doubt your character. Everybody is shocked. They are saying, how can Rama doubt Sita's character? Rama had to doubt. Why? Because he had to met out a punishment for having doubted Lakshmana's character. Lakshmana's character, right? And Bharata's character. Huge dent, right? And Sita should not have done that. Whoever it is, Rama will not spare in giving justice. He ensures that the justice is done. That is the reason why Agni Pariksha happens. Now also coming to a practical angle. Okay? So what happens in a captivity? Okay, this is the second angle. The first angle is what I have discussed. The second angle is what happens in a captivity. You all can hear me, right? Okay. Okay. What happens in a captivity is that when a person is in an elongated period in captivity, there is something called as a Stockholm syndrome that has a possibility of setting in. Okay. Now this is what is found today. We knew of it years before. Now what is Stockholm syndrome? Stockholm syndrome is basically where the captivated person, the captive, falls either in love or starts empathizing with the cause of the captor. Okay? Because there is a close contact with the captive starts empathizing and sympathizing to the cause. Oh, you kidnapped for this reason, you are right, this is what it is, your purpose of your fight is true. You are fighting for your government. Even if you are a terrorist, you are doing these things for some purpose. So there is always a chance that they have turned the sides. 12 months is a long time for anybody to turn sides. Will Sita really turn sides? Sita will not turn sides. Was this Agni Pariksha as a message for Sita? It never was a message for Sita. It's a message for us. The entire Ramayana is a message for whom? Right? Rama's avatar is for whom? To killing Ravana? No, it is for us. Right? It is for us as to what we are supposed to do and what we are not supposed to do. It is not for killing Ravana at all. Krishna's whole purpose of avatar is not to kill Kauravas or to do anything. It was a message for us, right? As to how we are supposed to lead our lives. And Rama lived his life to show us how we are supposed to. Krishna uttered it, and we are supposed to live like that. Rama's action has to be emulated. Krishna's words have to be emulated. We should never do a mistake of emulating Krishna's actions. We will find ourselves in jail. Okay? We can never emulate Krishna's actions. Krishna very clearly says, In Gita also he says, what I say is important and everybody has to agree to that and adhere their lives to that. Never ever make a mistake of adhering to what Krishna does. We'll end up killing our mamas and chachas and end up doing a lot of sins for ourselves. So Rama lived a life by example, and hence for those who live by example, they have to show how dharma has to be played out. This happens even in corporate life, right? So if there is a rule that has to be a new rule, okay, has to be implemented. Generally, the way it is implemented is the top bosses will fall in line, okay. Next, the middle management, and next is everybody else. Why do they do that? Because the leaders have to show it by action. When the leaders do it, then the middle management does, then everybody else feel, okay, everybody is doing, even the managing director is doing, even the director, board of directors are doing, the CEO, the CFO, senior management, everybody is doing, we also should fall in line. That is how rules get done. As a person, I am a person who is always a stickler to time. I reach office by 8 o'clock. Now, why do I reach office by 8 o'clock? It's because so that everybody start falling in line, then I myself come at 11 o'clock and then I expect my team to come at 9 o'clock. It's not going to be possible, right? If I don't adhere to my own discipline, why will anybody else do that? Rama had to do it by action. Rama had to show what is the right dharma. In the moments when a person is captivated and the person comes out, what is the right dharma, Rama had to show. And he had to show how? By acting out, right? So he wasn't doubting Sita, but by putting a punishment to Sita, he showed us a message that when a person is in captive, there is a chance that a Stockholm syndrome can set in. There is a chance that the person has switched side. You have to prove yourself beyond doubt that the person is still yours and not switch sides. How can you do? You need to have proof. So in Kali Yuga you have CCTV camera or whatever, audio, whatever. So you have all of that sadhan today. Those days they did not have. The only person who can stand witness is you again come back to the same person who Agni, right? So for you to prove that the person has not switched side and broken your contract, has not breached the contract of marriage, one had to prove the innocence. Yes, the victim was Sita. Yes, the person who was troubled was Sita. But yes, the onus of proving her innocence was also on Sita, because the person who could have switched side was also only Sita, right? Because she was under captive. She was being bombarded every day. Ravana used to every day without even brushing used to come and stand in front and used to keep proposing. He did this for 365 days, right? She must have got battered by it, right? Anybody else would have got switched sides. This message is not for Sita, this message is for us. That whenever we face such a situation, that we are supposed to be careful of the person whom we are taking back into the family, into the folds, whether he or she has become empathetic or sympathetic towards the enemy's side, has to be proven without doubt, and the way to prove in those days was Agni Pariksha. This is the reason why Agni Pariksha happened. There are various versions on Agni Pariksha. One of them is also where just about when Sita is about to get abducted, Padmavati, okay, who gets later on married to Tirupati Balaji, apparently comes, takes form of Sita, sits there so that Sita takes a backstage, she gets abducted, and then through the Agni Pariksha, Padmavati again switches herself and Sita comes out. This again is a poet's version, okay. I also consider it as a version to avoid a difficult question, right? And there is nothing wrong. The Agni Pariksha, there is no error that Rama has done, because Rama can never do any mistake, and that is the firm belief that we have to approach the entire story. And there is no mistake. Even in Valivad or in Agni Pariksha, he didn't do any mistake. There was a reason behind it. It is important for us to understand the reason. The question where he asks, do you remember the mistake, is there in Valmiki Ramayana. And Sita accepting that mistake is there in Valmiki Ramayana. Not in any other version, but in the Moola Ramayana itself it is there. And hence I thought I should cover it in a little detail. So I thought I will cover it after I have finished Ramayana formally. I hope I have given a good justification. Not that Rama requires my justification, but I thought I should anyway try and justify, because these are standard questions that all of us have. We have people bombarding us with such questions, right? Our relatives, our friends, maybe are all believers. but we in the outside world get bombarded. Oh, क्या राम के बारे में बात करते वो तो उसने बीवी पे भी doubt किया, you know. So this is a standard question that we get bombarded with. We need to be equipped with such answers. That now formally completes Ramayana, but Ramayana doesn't get completed without a phalashruti, which means what is the benefit that we get of having heard Ramayana. Rama undoubtedly is the most powerful word, the shortest and the most powerful word ever can be uttered. Okay? Rama as a word existed even before Rama's birth. Right? So Rama is undoubtedly the most powerful. Omkara is of course the most powerful, but Omkara is a nirguna shabda, which means when I am doing Omkara meditation, there is nothing in front of me that I can imagine of. But when I am thinking of Rama, the beautiful face, the muscular structure, the tall body, the dark face, the bent in his waist, the way he holds this arrow, the bow, all of that comes into your mind and you are so enchanted by it, right? So that is the effect of Rama. The most powerful, the most beautiful name to exist in Prakriti is the word Rama. That is something that we've been hearing for almost 22 weeks. So that is a benefit that all of us have got for hearing. When you do Ramayana, what do you talk of? You only talk of Rama, right? Unlike Mahabharata, you talk of everything else and also of Krishna. Ramayana is only of Rama. There is nothing else at all, right? Of course, Sundarakand is also of Hanuman. So that is the first benefit that we get is Rama Nama. We've been hearing for 22 weeks the benefit of Rama Nama that we get, right? The benefit, the Phalashruti of Ramayana, sage Narada himself has uttered. Not me. Narada himself tells it to Valmiki before he starts Ramayana itself. He says, may people get this benefit of hearing or listening or reading Ramayana. Let this be these benefits. And I'm just listing it down as to what it is. The person will be delighted and will be devoid of all anxiety. All anxiety will vanish. All sorrow will go away. Dharma will be nurtured. And in elevating all the problems, we will be able to see Dharma. Our problems will get resolved by the root of Dharma. We will not take a route of adharma to solve our problems, right? There will be recovery from physical and mental diseases. People who hear Ramayana, people who read Ramayana will not have physical and mental diseases. There will be destruction of fear. The word Hanuman is enough for destruction of fear, right? Bhuta Preta, the Hanuman Chalisa is anyway there for all of us to sing. There will be no death of children. This is the biggest sorrow that can occur, right? There will be no death of children. With elders alive, children won't die. Women will not lose their husbands to death. Now, what does this mean? Okay. So for us, death technically means going to Yamaloka. To die is a given, right? All of us have to die. There is this, right from birth, the moment our time starts on earth, the journey is what? Towards death. All of us are moving in the same direction. कोई पहले निकल जाता है, कोई बाद में निकलता है. One way ticket. Everybody is on that direction only. Everybody has to die. But the type of death, okay, here it doesn't mean they will not die. There will be Sat Gati, which means it will go in the right direction. Sat means good, Gati means to move. So Sat Gati, which means you will go towards either Vaikuntha or Shiva Loka or Ganapati Loka. You will not go to Yamaloka or you will not go to Patala. Okay, that is what it means. Which means all the husbands and wives, they will not go to the wrong Loka. Right? Separated families will be reunited. Okay, family issues, infighting, problems in family, brothers not talking to brothers, bhabi and nanan having problems, sas sasur and bahu having problems, all of this will not be there. Friendships will prosper. There will be mutual benefit. It is not just one friend taking benefit of the other, right? Friendship will be mutual. Friends will not be jealous of somebody's success. Instead, they will be happy and helping each other. There will be no loss due to flood, fire or wind. Critical. People losing their family because of floods, people losing their family because of a fire incident, because of a storm, all of that will not happen. Listening or reading Ramayana, our sins will be destroyed for this birth, all our past births. All our sins are now got destroyed. So having listened to Ramayana, I can just imagine we are completely free of sins. Now what future sins we do is only that is going to get added to us. Okay. It's very auspicious to read Rama's story and it's equivalent to reading the Vedas. So just as reading Vedas, the benefits that we get out of reading the 4 Vedas, just listening or reading Ramayana, that is the benefit we get. Reading or listening to Ramayana, we'll have a long, fruitful life, we'll have wife, we'll have I said wife as singular, not wives. Children, grandchildren, it will be a prosperous, happy family. Okay? There will be honor and fame in society. People will respect you. What use of life? That life is where you have money but there is no respect. No use. You might have a large family, but if you're not respected, of what use? You'll also have fame and respect. By reading Ramayana, people will become eloquent in speech. People will have good education. Students will get good marks. They will have obtained good marks. They will have good career. They will have good jobs, good property, wealth, happiness, prosperity, peace of mind. And after death, all of us have got a reserved our place in Swargaloka. So, by having heard for 22 weeks, I hope you all, whenever, not now, whenever, all of us go to Swargaloka. Many of us, and all of this above, I hope, of having heard this Ramayana, all of us, I'm sincere, my prayer is that all of us attain this. Let there be happiness, peace of mind. Let all the families be united. Let there be good friends in our lives who are not jealous. Let our children study well. Let their careers be well. Let them get married in good family. Let them also have good family, going forward. So I sincerely hope that this Ramayana, that session that we did, blesses us of all of these. And with that prayer, I conclude. I sincerely thank all of you all, okay, for having patiently joined me and listened to an utter amateur for the last 22 weeks. All my mistakes, Michayani Dukadam, I might have done a lot of mistakes. I have my pardon to Hanuman and Sri Ram also. In case I have done any mistakes, pardon me. In case I have incorrectly interpreted anything, in case I have incorrectly said any of the stories, pardon me. My humblest pardon, asking to God Himself and to you all. It's been an honor that you all listened to me. Thanks a lot. And my sincerest pranams to all of you all for having joined and given me this opportunity of talking. Thank you. Thanks. What we'll now do is we'll break to Hanuman Chalisa, and then after Hanuman Chalisa, we'll have a 10-minute open forum. Whatever you all want to add, you all can then add and we can discuss. And then we'll plan for our future sessions. I'm sure you have already heard from me for almost 6 months now. So you all must have got bored. So you all earn a well-deserved break from me, right? So I think I should give that break and then we'll reassemble after some time. Let's finish off Hanuman Chalisa and then break for a open forum. Yeah? Okay. Shri Guru Charana Saroj Raja Nijamana Mukura Sudhari Baranau Raghubara Bimala Jasu Jodaya Kupalachari Buddhihina Tanu Janike Sumiro Pavana Kumara Bala Buddhi Vidya Dehu Mohe Haravu Klesha Vikar Jai Hanuman Gyan Guna Sagar Jai Kapi Satihu Loka Ujagar Ramaduta Tulita Baladhama Anjali Putra Pavana Sutanama Mahavira Vikrama Bajarangi Kumati Nivara Sumati Ke Sangi Kanchana Varana Viraja Subesa Kanana Kundala Kunchita Kesa Hath Vajra aur Dhwaja Viraje Kandhe Munj Jane Hu Saje Shankara Suvana Kesari Nandana Teja Pratap Mahajagabandana Vidyavan Guni Ati Chatur Rama Kaja Karibeko Vatur Prabhu Charitra Sunibeko Rasiya Rama Lakana Sita Manabasiya Sukshma Dhari Siyai Dikhava Vikata Rupa Dhari Lanka Jalava Bhima Rupa Dhari Asura Samhare Ramachandra Ke Kaj Savare Laye Sajivan Lakana Jiyaye Shri Raghuveer Harashi Urlaye Raghupati Kini Bahut Badhai Sumagriya Bharat Hi Samabhai बदन तुमरो यश गावे हस कहि श्रीपति कंठ लगावे सनकादिक ब्रह्मादि मुनीसा नारद सारद सहित अहिसा यम कुबेर दिक्पाल जहाते कवि कोविद कहि सके कहाते तुम उपकार सुग्रीव ही कीन्हा राम मिलाए राजपद दीना तुमरो मंत्र विभीषण माना लंकेश्वर भय सब जग जाना जुग सहस्र योजन पर भानु लील्योता ही मधुर पद जानु प्रभु मुद्रिका मेलि मुख माही जलधि लांग गए अचरज नाही दुर्गम काज जगत के जेते सुगम अनुग्रह तुम्हारे तेते राम दुआरे तुम रखवारे होत न आज्ञा बिनु पैसारे सब सुख लहै तुम्हारी सरना तुम रक्षक काहू को डरना आपन तेज सम्हारो आपै तीनों लोक हांकते कापै
भूत पिशाच निकट नहीं
आवे, महावीर जब नाम सुनावे, नासे रोग हरे सब पीड़ा, जपत निरंतर हनुमत बीरा। संकट ते हनुमान छुड़ावे, मन क्रम वचन ध्यान जो लावे। सब पर राम तपस्वी राजा, तिनके काज सकल तुम साजा। और मनोरथ जो कोई लावे, सोई अमित जीवन फल पावे। चारों जुग पर ताप तुम्हारा है, पर सिद्ध जगत उजियारा। साधु संत के तुम रखवारे, असुर निकंदन राम दुलारे। अष्ट सिद्धि नव निधि के दाता, असवर दीन जानकी माता। राम रसायन तुम्हारे पासा, सदा रहो रघुपति के दासा। तुम्हारे भजन राम को पावे, जन्म जन्म के दुख बिसरावे। अंत काल रघुवर पुर जाई, जहाँ जन्म हरि भक्त कहाई। और देवता चित्तन धरही, हनुमत से सर्व सुख करही। संकट कटै मिटै सब पीड़ा, जो सुमिरै हनुमत बल बीरा। जय 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 हनुमान गोसाई, कृपा करहु गुरुदेव की नाई। ये सत बार पाठ कर कोई, छूट ही बंदी महासुख होई। जो यह पढ़े हनुमान चालीसा, होय सिद्धि साखी गौरीसा। तुलसीदास सदा हरि चेरा, कीजय नाथ हृदय महाडेरा। पवन तनय संकट हरन, मंगल मूर्ति रूप। राम लखन सीता सहित, हृदय बसहु सुर भूप। सियावर रामचंद्र की
जय।
के बोलो हनुमान की।
जय।
धन्यवाद 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 धन्यवाद।